This has been a while, so I've got a few guests with me, and it's going to be Flow State Taylor, and I got Kat, who often appears on Flow State as well. Tonight's topic is going to be about Beebe's 8-function model, and then transitioning from that 8-function model into Socionics, because this seems to be an area of pain for a lot of people. So I want to kick this off with talking to Taylor specifically about, he brought this up to me. I've been noticing it, but I really hadn't been paying much attention to it. But he's noticing a lot of people are recognizing that this model isn't actually working, and they tend to be moving into a different model, and they're trying to find something to hold up their sense of identity. So I want to toss it over to you, and Taylor, if you can just share your thoughts on that.
Sure. Yeah. So I lurk around several Discord servers, and I'm really only active regularly in Transcendence, but I'm in a lot of them, and I spend some time listening to conversations. You know, it's something I'll put on sort of like a YouTube video or whatever and listen to a lot of times. And there's a lot of younger guys on there who have learned MBTI, or even worse, they've learned C.S. Joseph's system, and they've developed an understanding, an identity, a way of interfacing with the world that is based on that. Then they start moving on and try to branch out, and they realize that they've got a lot of shit to unlearn. And I know that I learned sort of Franken typology when I first learned it, and I had to do unlearning, and it was unpleasant. And I mean, I can only imagine what it would be like to learn this shit under C.S. Joseph. Like, thank God he wasn't out there teaching that bullshit when I was learning it. So I'm empathetic to it. The problem is growing, really. There's a lot of people trying to sort this stuff out and trying to sort it out on their own a lot of times, because it's kind of embarrassing.
Right. So, Kat, I know that you've ran a fairly large server for a while. What have you noticed with people coming from alternative 8-function models that are derived from Beebe, and then being able to move it into Socionics understanding? What is your experience, and then what do you typically recommend for these people?
So most people who come into the server, they kind of have like the hodgepodge variation, which is also, I guess, what I learned at first also. I think I kind of tried to learn everything at once. And the biggest problem that I see with that is that a lot of people do come from C.S. Joseph's model, which I don't personally know, or they'll use, is it Beebe or Beebe? And there seems to be a lack of consistency and understanding. Like, they don't even seem themselves to really agree on the same things. So it ends up being like a lot of confusion, and then it's hard to kind of place people into specific types, or it's hard to get an understanding of the same types, just because it seems like, I guess, the definitions that they're using a little bit of everything, it seems like. And because I think they themselves don't necessarily, even if they're using the same model, they just don't really agree on how it works. But I don't know Beebe or anything. I just know that most people who come into our server end up wanting to learn Socionics and transition into that, just because they see more consistency there, and they like how it's got kind of a neater structure. So this is just, subjective from my server, but most people end up wanting to learn Socionics or transition into it, just because they see that it can kind of do the things that those other models do, it seems like. But it also seems like there is a lot more consistency once you get to talking about it in a group. So that's been my experience with that.
Great. So one of the things is that Taylor and I will be hosting a free webinar that will address a lot of these questions from people transitioning over from Franken typology into Socionics. We're actually going to not start, like a lot of people, they just can't compartmentalize and start from scratch. So we're going to take those models and we're going to actually start adapting that. And we're going to kind of prelude that with this webinar coming up on Sunday. The link is in the description. It's free. So click that link, sign up, register, and then show up on Sunday. It's at 2:00 Central Time. So click the link below. It's right below in the description. Make sure you click that. And then we'll actually do that on Sunday. So you'll have some plenty of time to get ready. But take notes because it's going to be intense. It's going to be quick. It's going to be 45 minutes. And we're going to kind of blast through it and give you good understanding of how to actually A, compartmentalize, and B, learn the nuances between different systems, and then start moving into a socionics model, because there seems to be a lot of questions around this.
Yeah, we're gonna start with the basics, hit it quickly, and then do a little Q&A afterwards. But this problem continues to snowball, right? Because you get one bad misunderstanding, and then you've got somebody mistyped. There's a zillion mistyped INFJs, and that problem just accumulates as people think, well, you act like this person, and that person's, and I'm sorry, INFJ. Did I say J or P?
Yeah.
INFJ, right.
It's P Socionics, so you're good.
Yeah.
Whatever, yeah. But my thought when I hit you up yesterday was I've watched this problem kind of grow for a while, and we should probably just meet it head on because it's needed.
So something else also came up in my attention when Taylor and I were talking yesterday, and it was that when I learned mbti, and then I learned, Beebe's model associated with mbti, and I said, okay, mbti is a 4-function model. Beebe actually moved it to an 8-function model, and that's all theoretical. mbti actually doesn't adopt that model, so enthusiasts of mbti take that model, Beebe's model, and adapt it to MBI, and then pull from different sources to try to articulate some kind of taxonomy, all becoming like Franken typology in a sense from different people, and everybody's arguing what is what. There's no real consensus. That is where I didn't realize that people couldn't compartmentalize, because MBTI is in this box right here in my brain, and then all of a sudden Socionics, it's like I don't even pay attention to that box. There's this box. If MBTI didn't exist, nor did Dr. Beebe exist, or any of those people exist, Socionics is still what it is in this box. And so my mind just deletes these other boxes.
I'm the same way.
Yeah, I had the biggest challenge with like understanding how people couldn't do that. And then Taylor's like, I don't think people can actually do that. And I'm like, shit. I'm like, I was just expecting that of people. So that's why I started hammering on so much nomenclature and terms and, sticking to standardization, because I thought people could compartmentalize and they were just being idiots. But instead,
I think that some can. I can. I just resisted for a while because I was lazy.
Yeah.
So for whatever reason, it just doesn't end up getting done.
Yeah, that's I think where I realized that I had been approaching this not in the best of ways, because I'm expecting people to do that, and I'm like, I guess these people are just stupid. That's the only that's the only explanation I have for this. I don't understand why you can't learn something in its wholesome self and then understand that this is over here, and I can't understand that thinking.
Not everybody has good TI or 5 fixes.
Or 3 fixes.
What I realize now is that the mistake is on me, right? And it's like, okay, now in that webinar, when you click that link, we are actually going to talk about different ways you can work around the lack of ability to compartmentalize. So that way you can actually learn this effectively without pulling in all that junk. So click the link below in the description. There's a registration for that webinar. It is free, so make sure you click that. Now, the other thing is that I want to start challenging and pushing on this notion of the 4 sides of the mind. I really want to start challenging this, because my experience, and I'm sure Taylor can add on to this, Kat probably has some experience in the indirect way, tying this in from where a lot of happiness and enlightenment or whatever is derived. So I remember a video I watched, specifically C.S. Joseph had mentioned. He said that all enlightenment ever is when one masters all 4 personalities within their psyche.
What?
Yeah. So, yeah. And so I'm just going to start it off with that. And Taylor, you can add on. I'll finish my point when you add on.
Fuck. Okay. So,
I saw your expression. I wanted to hear what you had to say.
I mean, I've heard, I don't know if I remember that specific quote, but I've heard him say that, like a fully developed type looks like they're dual. So I, at my best, would basically be an INFJ. And that whole concept, is so undermining and damaging, because people think to be healthy, they have to be what they're not, what their weaknesses are. And you have people living in their 1D and 2D functions, but they're valued ones. So they're sucking at it and caring. And it's really an unhealthy mindset to live in. So not only is it just not consistent with any typology, not only does it not explain its own mechanisms or workings, it like gaslights the user.
Yeah.